Welcome back to Advent of Code. Day 17 we were working on. So this, I've changed it a little, just off screen, just to get it working. So I ran into a couple of bugs. The bugs were sometimes like you would try and push into the left wall, but it wouldn't detect it because it was getting caught by the guard saying just don't do anything. So now we actually check whether we can move it. So we do this. Can we offset it? If not, then we return false, basically saying we couldn't apply the wind. We don't do that for the drop one because that weren't, you're like not going less than zero basically, which the check was doing that. And here we rely on the overlaps, which actually checks to see whether there's a brick in that point where the point doesn't actually know about any of the bricks. Did a bit of stuff in this add space for brick, basically working out how many empty spaces we have at the moment and where to basically put it, and I believe I've got it. Well, I think I do have it because I have actually solved the first part just before. So this, we probably don't need these print lines. This doesn't happen anymore, this panic. That was kind of to do with where we were putting it wasn't quite right, and then it would do stuff. So what I think could be kind of cool is if we turn on this debug mode, which I set up for the basically simulation to see what it does, and if we run this command but in less, because otherwise we'll just show it, we can kind of see how we go about and do it. And if we maybe go here but then scroll up before we read part 2, we can kind of follow along with this is the example input. Maybe we will even go like that, and we can see that this is roughly doing the same. And maybe we could always on top of this and do this, and basically just as we get to the bottom there, at that point, and then we start a new one, and there should be 3 gaps, and there's 3 gaps, and it goes there, and that does a bunch of falling until the next one. So if we scroll down, so we get blown about by the wind, and then we get to that point, and it looks similar to that, and it starts at the right point. And here the example kind of goes and doesn't show us the wind. So what I think I'll do is basically do that, and then we can see the moment at each time it starts. So kind of less verbose, I guess. And here we can see this is where we kind of start with. I wonder if I should like decrease the font maybe, but yeah, we can see that this matches that, and then we can kind of go forward, and this matches that, and here we probably need to scroll down to see the next one, and you'll see this square one, it like has an empty space up there because for whatever reason. That's interesting. Yeah, so this was like a 4 tool one, so it had to add quite a lot of extra space, which it didn't get used because it goes in this point here, I believe. So in the arena there's still quite a lot of space, so that went there. And that means that we might not be at the top. Every brick now starts, basically the top left corner is at the origin, and there might not be anything in it. Like for this one there's empty gap, but from there we can kind of work out where we need to shift it. We always need to shift over by 2, and sometimes we need to shift down if we've got extra space, but most of the time we don't need to shift down, we just need to add extra stuff. So this all kind of does this, and it all looks fairly similar to the example output here. So that landed there, and it kind of just keeps going. That goes there, and then we have that, and then eventually this kind of stops, I believe, which kind of suggests that we have found the end. Again, we get like an extra line here, but it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things. Right, so this was our last input, but we can kind of see what happens going on in the future. But we can't really like be sure that it does that. But if we take out the simulation and just run this maybe without always on top and without the less, this should now just spit out the answer 3068, which I was trying to I was trying to submit that as the answer, but what I forgot was I was working on the example input, and it was not 3068. It was actually 3202, which we can see if we do that, and if we run it again, it don't actually need to compile every time, but we can see that that kind of gets it. And if we run tests on that, it will fail because we need to output day 17 dot output and 3202 part 13202, and now if we run this, it will pass everything. Maybe we'll do a reset there. It's weird that when you reset it resizes the terminal. I haven't seen that in other terminal on other systems, I guess. I mainly use a tiling window manager, which you may have seen when I kind of go back to my host system, and normally it's even like that, but I have it full screen just so I can do some stuff. Accidentally opened the help there. So I guess we've done day 17 I mean, and we put some stuff in helpers, so it's a fair amount of code, and yes, we put panic and also min-max for use sizes. That's all good. So if we commit this up, we can go day 17 part 1 and look at that. We are back in the game of Advent. So looking at part 2, not much text, I like that. Alright, so here we just need to, instead of doing 2022, we basically need to do a very large number. Can't copy easily, but what we can do is and I found a bug in so in Serenity, in jakt, if you have this kind of range, in other languages I would expect this to never get inside the for loop, but in jakt it turns out it goes in about 5 times, from 0 to -1, -2, -3, -4, and why this was an issue was I was using a variable here which was negative, and I was assuming that it wouldn't add more, but it was. But anyway, let's get a mouse there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 lots of O's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll maybe minus 2022 off that because we have done that much. And is that number big? everything. Print line part 2, and that can be just s dot height again. And what I might do is print line after steps height equals that, and maybe now that we've copied that number we don't need always on top there, and here we can go maybe I plus 2022, maybe plus 1, s dot height, and now if we run this maybe with the example input, and we'll just do this build, see how quickly it goes. I like how there's a token, well there was a token A, but then there wasn't, but yeah, things are happening in SerenityOS. You may have noticed my cursor down the bottom has like a little hourglass flipping up. This is running pretty hard. So I did wonder, I was talking this through with my partner last night, and I was wondering whether it would be possible to like work out what this is without doing the simulation, because the simulation is like kind of how do I complex, well like it's computational, like we need to get up to a very large number, and hopefully get that sort of number. And what I'm worried about is we'll probably get like a panic somewhere, because one good thing about jakt is if you basically have an overflow or an underflow, it will let you know, because that's an unsafe operation and it's better to bail out early, and you can try operations before you do them, to make sure that they work. But yeah, I guess this is just going to take a long time. I potentially might ask my mate that's already done these, like, whether he optimized any of this. I suppose like printing out stuff is also kind of slow, so what I might do is only print out if we have got to maybe we can do I plus 2 plus 1, and if that whole thing is mod by maybe like that much, and if that is there, then we do this, we name them. Ooh, that's not what I wanted, but I thought it would do what I wanted, because if we do that, it does it, but if we just do that, it does not. So I'm like just pushing tab to expand it out, trying to see a bit more of the functionality of the editor, I guess. Hack Studio. Right, so now it should print out part 1, but now the printing of part 2 should be slower. And like, what did we get up to? We only got up to like 28,000. So maybe this could be like 10,000. It'll print a bit, but I kind of want to see some progress, but not so much that it slows it down. Like, I would potentially want, that's probably a good amount of progress output, and we can see how things are going. That first one was probably less because we'd already done 2022, which was like a quarter of that, I guess, but the next one should be 20,000 and it should go up by a bunch. So this is quite slow. I think that it will either give the right answer, because I've got confidence in my simulator. I mean, it got to that point, but I'm unsure whether it will be able to like support numbers these high. I mean, we're using i64s. All the heights are U size. So we use U size, and that should be a U size. So like all of this height calculation should be U size. There are some things that, so I guess points are U size, and I think U size is basically the like pointed size on like whatever system you're on, and so this is like a x84 system, not x84, not even x86. X84 is who knows. It's a 64-bit one, so we should have quite large numbers. So this should fit in. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I think it will fit in with U sizes. We do use signed integers for the offsetting, but I think that is potentially it. In fact, maybe if we search for i64, offset, 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 offset. So when we're adding a brick, we do kind of downcast these U sizes to i64s, which this should be a small value because we're taking a largest value and we're subtracting off another largest value, which should get a small positive. It should be positive, but we treat it as signed because we wanted to use it somewhere else. Where do we use? I don't think we actually use that current empty. That's because we got that open, the find up there that I just closed. So we don't actually use this current empty. We kind of just bundle it in there to work out the current height. I use that for debug purposes, I guess. So that's just ticking away. I think I will just leave that ticking away. And here, there's a chance that this could overflow, because height could be quite large, and when we convert it to 964, that could be quite large. And so it needs to be i64 because this operation here, when we subtract off the current size of the chamber, we could become negative at that point, and so that does need to be there. But I think that doesn't need to be there. And maybe, current empty. So we don't have that current empty. So I'm starting to think, when I do that Control F, we get that search thing, but it has the last thing that we searched, and normally every time I need to do it, say if I'm searching for points, I leave that. I no longer get the context showing that I had searched for points, but when I go Control F again, it's got points as the last search thing, which it like kind of has it in its context. If I push like one thing, it's like, yeah, cool, that's what you want to do. But if we go there, usually what I want to do is actually delete whatever I'm doing and maybe search for a different thing. But could be something I come back to fix. Gosh, it's going to take quite a while. 60,000, so that's like that digit there. We need to do all of those. I'm just going to keep this running and see what happens. It might crash, it might solve it, but in like several days maybe, I don't know. Might have a think on how to do the simulation without doing the simulation, if that makes sense. Because there could be there could be some like mathy way to like just put it in a equation. But yeah, I think for now I'll leave that running and see what happens. Otherwise, we got part one done, and that's cool. Progress has